Hello everyone, we are from Group 5 and our topic is about error analysis. So, error analysis is an activity to review error found in writing and speaking. Richard stated that error analysis is the study of error made by the second and foreign language learners. Error analysis may be carried out in order to find out how well someone knows a language, find out how a person learns a language, and obtain information on common difficulties in language learning as an aid in teaching or in the preparation of teaching materials. Another concept of error analysis is given by Brown. He stated that error analysis is the process to observe, analyze, and classify the deviation of the rules of the second language and then to review the system operated by learner. And the same concept is defined by Kristya. She stated that error analysis is a technique for identifying, classifying, and systematically interpreting the unacceptable forms produced by someone learning a foreign language using any of the principles and procedures provided by linguistics. From three definitions above clarify that error analysis is an activity to identify, classify, and interpret or describe the error made by someone in speaking or in writing, and is carried out to obtain information on common difficulties faced by someone in speaking or in writing English sentence.
In this slide, identifying errors, there are two keywords that will appear in this slide. The first one is erroneous. The definition of erroneous is something that is incorrect, wrong, or error. The second one, idiosyncratics, speech or language. A word or expression to refer to something which is unrelated, irrelevant, or unique. In the next slide, as you can see on the screen, this is the model from Corder in Brown, 1988. It used for identifying erroneous or idiosyncratic utterances in second language. As you can see in the table below. Next slide is this is the explanation for the previous model. Okay, Corder in Brown, 1980. According to this model, any sentence uttered by the learner and subsequently transcribed can be analyzed for idiosyncrasies. A major distinction is made at the outset between overt and covert errors. Overtly erroneous utterances are those that are unquestionably ungrammatical, and covertly erroneous utterances are grammatically well-formed but not interpretable within the normal context of communication. The model indicates that in both cases, if a plausible interpretation can be made of the sentence, then one should perform a reconstruction of the sentence in the target language, compare the reconstruction with the original idiosyncratic sentence, and then describe the difference. If the native language of the learner is known, the model indicates using translation as possible indicator of native language interference as the source of error. In some cases, of course, no plausible interpretation is possible at all, and the researcher is left with not analysis of the error or O3.
Next, I will explain about what the searches of errors according to Brown in 1980 that classify searches error into 5 types of searches. First, interlingual transfer, the negative influence of the mother tongue of learner, and it occurs at different level, such as transfer of phonological, morphological, grammatical element, lexical, and semantical level. First, phonological level, whereas in English, one word can have some traces that will affect the meaning to be conveyed, like si laut and she, dia perempuan. As we know that in our mother tongue, there is no difference in the pronunciation of the two words. However, when entering a second language, it is usually a problem for beginners. And then morphological level, errors that occur are usually due to the absence of rules regarding the structure of word in the second language. That the example, like students in Indonesian, they express a plural noun, it is not necessary to add insert s, and too many students. So this will usually carry over when they study English. And then grammatically level. For example, I go to Jakarta yesterday. In Indonesia, we do not recognize tenses. So there are many sentence error like the one above. And lexicosemantic level, we can see that when we translate the mother tongue into a second language, sometimes it will be one of the sources of error due to the difference in word usage rules. And then second, intralingual transfer, the negative transfer of item within the target language in other words, the incorrect generalization of rules within the target language. There are so many examples of this kind of searches, and one of them is when usually the beginners think the use of one rule in one word will be the same as the word they already know. You can see in the example this. And then third, context of learning. This error comes from when we learn or acquire the second language. Example, in a classroom context, the teacher or the textbook can lead the learners to make wrong generalization about the language. And then last, communication strategies. So this one observes in error analysis where in conscious condition, the speaker will usually use a language that is easier than the language term, which is actually more appropriate to use in the second language. There are 5 main communication strategies for avoidance. Second, fabricated pattern. Third, cognitive personality style. Third, appeal to authority. And last, language switch. You can see the definition and the example for that. And actually, there are still many sources of error that are classified by experts.
Now about types of error. First, overgeneralization. In linguistics, overgeneralization error occurs when the speaker applies a grammatical rule in a case where it doesn't apply. Richard et al. 2002 mentioned that they are a fact by extension of target language rules in a target context. This kind of error has been committed while doing irregular verbs, as well as the application of plural forms. Second, signification. They result from learners producing simpler linguistic forms than those found in the target language. In other words, learners attempt to be linguistically creative and produce their own topic sentence or usage. They may actually be successful in doing it, but it is not necessary in fact. Coders cited in Mahmoud 2014 mentioned that learners do not have the complex system which they could simply. This kind of errors is committed through both of omission and addition of some linguistic elements at the level of future to spelling or grammar, and Mahmoud 2014 provides example based on a research conduct on writing English of Arabic speaking. Third, developmental error. Developmental error. This kind of error is somehow part of the overgeneralization. This latter is applicable in the natural and developmental learning stage error. These are results of normal patterns of development such as common and break as breakage. Dini indicates that the learner has suffered developing their linguistic knowledge and failed to reproduce the rules they have not yet been exposed to in target language learning. Last, in this error, as now a circle of training, it will cause the leading to, for example, teachers sometimes unconditionally express a rule without highlighting the exceptions or the intended message they would want to convey.
Now we are talking about source of errors, citated from Richards in Schumann and Stenson, 1978-32. Currently, there are four source of errors citated from the Richards. Number one, overgeneralization. Overgeneralization generally involves the creation of one deviant structure in place of two regular structures. For examples, he can sing, we are hope, it is occurs. And number two, incomplete application of rules. An example of incomplete application of rules can be seen in the question form. Very often they are used not to find out something as they should, but as a means of eliciting question through a transform exercise. You can see in the table below, the teacher questions asks her how long it takes, and the student responds how long it takes. So it's kind of incomplete application. And number 3, false concept hypothesis. False concept hypotheses are something due to poor gradation of teaching items. The form was, for example, may be interpreted as the marker of the past tense, as in one day it was happened. And number 4, ignorance of rule restriction. Closely related to the generalization of deviant structure is failure to observe the restriction of existing structures. That is, the application of rules to contexts where they do not apply. They, man, who I saw him, violates the limitation on subject and structure to with who. So the word who in the previous sentence is not correct. This is again a type of generalization of transfer since the learners is making use of previously acquired rule in a new situation.
Analyzing grammatical errors. There are 5 examples of the grammatical errors found in the sentences and the ways to analyze them. First is errors in using adjective. The sentence on the screen contains errors in using adjective. The use of adjective successful in this sentence is wrong because it is the head of the phrase. The way successful must be changed with the noun success. The cause of the error can be classified as overgeneralization. Second is errors in presenting subject and incorrect agreement. The sentence on the screen contains 2 types of the grammatical errors, that is error in presenting subject and incorrect agreement. Thus, it will be meaningful if we put a subject, for example, another objective of this research, and then the word variables. In the noun phrase, strategic variables does not agree with auxiliary verb was because it is plural. That is why was must be changed with were. This cause of the errors in presenting subject can be classified as interference because this sentence is the translation of the sentence in Bahasa. Third is error in using question word how far. The sentence on the screen contains error in using question how far. This is caused by the influence of the word sejauh mana in Bahasa. In this sentence, the question word how far should not be used. This sentence can be actually simplified as the objective of this research were to describe. This is not necessary to say this research was conducted in Sindanreng Rapang Regency because it is quite clear where this research took place. The cause of the error can be classified as interference, that is, the writer of this sentence transferred stylistic elements from the source language to the target language. Fourth, error in using preposition. The sentence on the screen contains error in using preposition at. In this context, at must not be used because aims here is not a verb, but it's a noun. The cause of the error can be classified as overgeneralization. And last, error in using passive voice. The sentence on the screen contains an error that is incorrect use of passive voice because happen is an intransitive verb. So, this sentence will be meaningful if it is written, it happened because most of the farmers sold their cashew nuts to the collectors in the village. The cause of the error can be classified as false concept hypothesis. That is, the writer of this sentence probably interpreted was as the marker of the past tense. After explaining a lot about error analysis in language learning, we come to the conclusion that error analysis is required in developing or growing the techniques in teaching English. By doing the error analysis, The teachers or instructors can concentrate on the materials wherein most learners made error. A teacher can also compare themselves to whether they succeeded in teaching or not, and subsequently, they can improve the techniques in teaching by way of making ready systematic materials. That's all from our groups. Thank you very much for your attention.